All right, so are you ready to take the red pill? Today we're going deep, really deep, into the question that's kind of haunted us since we first saw Neo face that choice. Do we live in the Matrix?
You know, it's wild how a film from, what, like 25 years ago can still make us think so hard, isn't it?
Totally. I mean, The Matrix wasn't just some sci-fi action flick, right?
Yeah.
It messed with your head, made you question, like, what even is real? And that whole red pill or blue pill thing, I feel like it's everywhere now.
Oh, for sure. That choice, between being happy but clueless or facing the truth, even if it's scary, it's like a basic human thing we all deal with.
Okay, so for this deep dive, we're going to try something kind of different. We've got these statements, and they're designed to make us really think about, well, how much we plugged into some system, like in the Matrix.
And it'll be really interesting to see how these statements, well, how they connect back to the movie itself, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay, so first statement. Questioning the nature of reality leads to unhappiness. Man, this one gets me thinking, is it better to just not know sometimes?
Ooh, that is the question, isn't it? Philosophers have been debating that forever. But the Matrix kind of gives us an answer, right? Cypher, remember him. He went back to the blue pill, that blissful ignorance, and totally regretted it.
Yeah, it's that trade-off, safety and comfort.
Mm.
But maybe you're missing out on truth, and who knows, maybe even getting disillusioned in the process. What do you think about that?
Well, if we're thinking about it like the Matrix, it seems like, real happiness can't come from something fake, even if it feels good at the time.
Makes you wonder, right? If choosing the red pill, choosing to be aware, if that just comes with some level of, discomfort or even pain.
Maybe. But it also feels like it's saying there's a deeper kind of happiness, a realer one, that only comes when you face truth no matter how tough it is.
Wow, that makes you think about all the stuff we might be ignoring in our own lives, huh? Maybe those things are uncomfortable, but maybe they hold the key to, understanding ourselves and everything better.
Yeah.
Okay, next statement. Spiritual awakening is merely self-delusion or escapism. Ooh, this one's tricky. What are your thoughts on this one?
This statement, it kind of lines up with the whole point of the Matrix, right? Suppressing real consciousness. Think about Neo becoming the one. Those machines, like the agents, they'd see that as a total delusion, a threat to their whole system.
So it's saying any attempt to, reach a higher level of awareness, whether it's through spirituality or just questioning things, it's all just running away from reality.
Well, it's definitely making us think, that's for sure. It makes you think about why people look for spiritual enlightenment. Are they really after truth and connection? Or just trying to avoid life's tough stuff?
And it makes you wonder about those in power, right?
Yeah.
How they might try to shut down anything that threatens their control.
Oh, totally. Just like the agents in the Matrix. Getting rid of anything that doesn't fit their program. They need control, and that means keeping everyone plugged in and unaware.
Wow, I'm seeing how these statements, they really mirror the themes from the movie in some really cool ways. Okay, next one. The world we perceive with our senses is objectively real. This one seems pretty simple at first.
Yeah, it does, right. But hold on. The whole idea of the Matrix, the whole premise, is that what we think is real is just a super convincing simulation.
Right, that scene, where Morpheus is like, what is real? How do you define real? It flips everything we think we know about our senses.
Exactly. And it makes us think, hey, what if there's more to reality than what we can see, hear, touch? What if our senses are just showing us like a limited version, a filtered version of something way bigger?
Oh, it's mind-blowing, but kind of freeing,
Yeah.
What if there's more to reality than what we see? What if it's just bigger?
And that's where that red pill comes in again, right?
Yeah.
Being willing to see past what our senses show us and, being open to the possibility of something more.
All right, hit me with the next one. What's next on this list of reality-bending statements?
Here we go. If an idea challenges my worldview, it's best to dismiss it. Ooh, this one might be a little close to home for some of us.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's so easy to just stay in our little bubbles, isn't it? Where everything agrees with us.
It is. And this statement, it's talking about that human thing, holding on to our beliefs even when there's stuff that says we might be wrong.
It goes back to what we were just talking about, right? If we only accept stuff that already fits our view of the world, we could be missing out on a lot of truth.
You got it. And think about how this plays out in the Matrix. The agents, they're like that, right? Totally stuck to the system, refusing to see anything else.
They're like the ultimate example of not wanting to change your mind, just deleting anything that doesn't fit their programmed world.
Exactly. And in a way, we all have our own little agents inside us, trying to protect us from uncomfortable truths.
So how do we fight those internal agents then? How do we get better at being open to ideas that challenge us?
I think it starts with being curious, being willing to step outside our comfort zones and explore things that might seem weird or even, you know, a little scary at first.
Like, we got to train ourselves to embrace the unknown, see challenges as chances to grow, not threats. Right?
Exactly. It's not always easy, though. It can be really uncomfortable to have our beliefs challenged, but that discomfort, it can mean we're on the right path,
Yeah.
expanding how we understand the world and ourselves.
I can feel that red pill starting to kick in.
Oh,
All right, what's the next statement?
okay, here it is. Social media is necessary to stay connected to what's real. This one, it's super relevant now, don't you think? I mean, look at how connected we all are.
No kidding. Social media is like part of life now. It's how we get news, talk to friends and family, even form opinions about, well, everything.
But think about the Matrix, right? It warns us about depending too much on outside sources to tell us what's real. Remember those people hooked up to the pods? Totally lost in that fake world.
It's like they're living through a filter, completely oblivious that what they're experiencing isn't the actual world.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes you wonder, right? Could social media, even with all its good stuff, also become a kind of matrix?
Especially with all the algorithms and stuff, feeding us what they think we want to see, filter bubbles reinforcing what we already believe, and ads trying to make us want things. It's easy to get stuck in that online world, which might not be the real world at all.
That's such a good point. And it's not like I'm saying social media is all bad or we should all go live in caves, but it does make you think, how are we using it? How are we forming our opinions? Are we still connecting with the real world?
Maybe the answer is to be more aware of how we use social media. Be more careful about what we're reading and seeing, making sure it's not the only place we get our truth or connections from. What do you think?
That's a great start. It's also important to look for different viewpoints, think critically, and remember there's a whole world outside of that screen.
Okay, statement number 6. Logic and reason are all that matter. Intuition is unreliable. This sounds like something Agent Smith would say.
It really does. That cold, machine-like logic, that's the agents all over. They're all about order, control, everything being predictable.
And they hate anything that messes with their system, right?
Yeah.
Like feelings, intuition, even those glitches that hint that something else is going on.
Right. But don't forget, Morpheus is always pushing Neo to trust his gut, to tap into something deeper than just logic.
Like when Neo just senses something, right? Even if it doesn't logically make sense, it turns out he's right.
It shows how limiting it is to only use our rational minds. Sometimes the most important truths, you can't figure them out with logic. You got to feel them, sense them, experience them directly.
So what's that mean for us in real life? Should we just throw logic out the window and go with our gut all the time?
Not really. Logic and reason are super important tools, but we can't ignore that inner voice, the intuition that guides us in ways logic can't explain.
It's like finding that balance between our heads and our hearts, the analytical and the intuitive.
Exactly. Maybe that's part of figuring out this crazy world, learning to trust both our brains and our guts.
Okay, let's keep going. What's next?
All right, this one says, coincidences and déjà vu are merely random glitches in the brain. I've always found that stuff fascinating, those little moments where things just line up. Me too. It's cool how the Matrix uses those glitches to hint at what's really going on. Remember when Trinity says déjà vu is usually a glitch in the Matrix? It's like the program trying to hide its mistakes.
Yeah, like little cracks in the fake reality showing us something deeper, more mysterious.
And that's what makes them so cool, right? They make us question what we think is possible and look for different explanations.
Instead of just saying, oh, that was just my brain being weird. Maybe we should pay more attention to those moments. Maybe they're trying to tell us something.
Maybe they are, and that openness to the unknown, that willingness to question what we think we know, that's what the red pill is all about.
Okay, last one, and this one's a doozy. My thoughts and desires are entirely my own, free from external programming.
Whoa, this is where things get deep, real deep. The idea that our thoughts and desires might be influenced or even planted there by something outside of us. That's kind of creepy, if you think about it.
It's like those scenes in The Matrix, the agents going into people's minds, controlling them.
Exactly. It makes you ask big questions about free will and, what even is consciousness? Are we really in control? Or are we just products of some system that shapes how we think and what we want?
It makes you think about all the messages we get from the media, ads, even just our culture. How much of what we think and want is really us, and how much is just, like, programmed into us?
Big question, right? And it reminds us to pay attention to the stuff that's shaping our views, our beliefs, and even our desires.
Maybe just being aware of those influences is the first step, noticing how they show up in our lives.
You got it. Awareness is key. Once we see those patterns, we can start to question them, challenge them, and decide how we really want to respond to them.
Man, that was intense. We've covered so much, and I feel like we're just getting started.
I know, right? There's so much more to talk about. This is just the beginning. That last one about our thoughts maybe being, like, programmed, it really makes you think, how much control do we really have?
It's a question that's been around forever, but The Matrix shows it in such a crazy, real way. Even if we aren't living in a computer simulation, the film is like a metaphor, right? Showing how we might be plugged into systems that control us, even in real life.
Exactly. It makes us think about the stuff that shapes our views and beliefs, maybe without us even knowing it. The media, ads, all that cultural stuff, we just accept.
It's like we're swimming in this sea of information and influences, and it's easy to get swept away, right?
And that's where the whole red pill thing comes in. It's about waking up, seeing those influences, knowing the forces that shape our reality, and then deciding, okay, how do I want to deal with this?
So it's not about escaping from some fake reality, but more about like becoming more aware, more in control of our lives, even within the systems we live in.
You got it. It's one of the biggest things The Matrix shows us. It's not just action and sci-fi. It's about waking up to what we're capable of, questioning what's real, and choosing to be more aware and free.
Okay, that's inspiring and all, but let's be honest. Not everyone wants to question everything all the time. Some people are cool with a blue pill, right? Living in a world that makes sense, even if it's all fake.
That's true. It comes down to a personal choice. The Matrix, in the movie and as a metaphor for our lives, it gives us this choice of comfort or truth.
But like we saw with Cypher, picking ignorance didn't make him happy, did it? He ended up feeling empty, like something was missing.
Right. He wanted that steak he never actually ate in the real world because he chose that fake satisfaction over the truth. And that's the thing about the blue pill. It promises easy and simple, but in the end, you might feel kind of empty, stuck.
So even if we aren't fighting robots, we've still got those agents inside us, those doubts, fears, the stuff that tries to keep us in the status quo.
Wow, that's a great way to put it. Those internal agents can be just as sneaky as the stuff outside that tries to control us. They tell us to play it safe, avoid anything uncomfortable, stay inside our little boxes.
But The Matrix shows us we have a choice.
Yeah.
Like we can listen to that fear, or we can face it, step outside our comfort zones, and be open to what we don't know.
And that's where we grow, isn't it? When we question what we believe, when we push past those limits we think we have, when we dare to question everything, even ourselves.
Speaking of questionings, let's switch gears a bit. What about living a matrix-aware life in the real world? What does that even look like? The world's so complicated now.
That's a big question. I think it starts with realizing how we're already plugged in to those systems of control in our everyday lives. It's the media, the tech we use, even the social and political stuff that shapes our world.
So it's not just about, is reality fake, but about the stuff that shapes what we believe every day.
Right. Right. It's about being aware of the information we're taking in, the choices we make, and how we might be following rules that don't even match our real values.
It's like seeing the code running in the background, influencing our thoughts and everything, and then asking ourselves, do I want to run this code or do I want to change it?
That's a powerful image. It shows that we're not just puppets, we're creators. We can choose the code we run, build the reality we want.
I love that. It's like hacking the Matrix, but in a way that helps us make real changes in our lives and in the world.
Exactly. And it starts with those little choices we make every day. What we read, who we hang out with, what we care about, how we show up in the world.
It's about being smarter about what we consume, thinking critically, and remembering that there's more to life than just what's on the screen.
And knowing we aren't alone in this, taking the red pill isn't a solo mission. It's like waking up together.
So it's not about going off on our own and fighting the system. It's about finding other people who get it, who share our values, and working together to make things better.
You got it. It's about building a community of people who are awake, who are aware, and who want to make the world a better, fairer place.
This conversation is giving me a lot to think about. It's like we've opened this huge can of worms, and I don't even want to close it.
That's the beauty of the Matrix, right? It makes you curious, makes you ask questions, and that can last a lifetime. It reminds us that waking up is a journey, a constant change in ourselves and the world.
We've talked about a lot, from what's real to how powerful our minds are to working together. But I think it's time for a break. Let's give these ideas some time to sink in. When we come back, we'll wrap things up and leave you with some questions to think about on your own journey. The Matrix, it's not just about cool fight scenes and bending reality, is it?
No, not at all. It goes much deeper. It's about like what humans can do, how our minds can break free and make the world more aware.
Exactly. So for this last part of our deep dive, I really want to explore that more. We talked about the red pill, that whole idea of waking up, but what does that actually look like in real life? How do we make those concepts work in our everyday lives?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? And there's no like one right answer, no magic formula for becoming enlightened or whatever. But I think it starts with how we think, being willing to question the stuff we just assume is true, being open to different ideas, even being okay with not knowing everything.
So it's not about finding all the answers. It's more about like being on a journey, always exploring and discovering new stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And realizing we're all on this journey together. We can learn from each other, help each other out, and create a world that's, well, more awake and caring.
I love that whole idea of like waking up together. It's not about being alone, fighting the system by yourself. It's about finding other people who get it, who share your values, and making things better together.
And remembering that even the small stuff matters. Every time we choose to be aware, every time we question something we thought was true, every time we stand up for what's right, we're helping to change things.
So it's not about waiting for someone else to fix everything. It's about taking charge of our own awakening and then showing others how to do it too.
Totally. We all have that power to change things. And the more we use that power, the more we can change the world together.
This conversation has been amazing. The Matrix might be a movie, but the stuff it makes us think about, reality, our minds, free will, it's all still so relevant.
I think that's why people still love it, even after all these years. It speaks to that part of us that wants to find meaning, find our purpose, connect with something bigger. And it shows that even in a world that can feel messed up and confusing, there's always a chance to wake up to something better.
So to everyone listening, here's our challenge to you. Keep questioning, keep exploring, keep choosing that red pill. It might be tough, but it's worth it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Matrix. And until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and stay aware.